Family members of the 18-year-old man who died at the Calumet County Jail testify in the first day of trial in a federal liability case. Demetrius Stevenson took his own life in 2019 after spending 3 months at the jail. His estate filed a federal lawsuit in 2022 alleging that Calumet County and/or 3 social workers violated his constitutional rights by failing to provide adequate mental health treatment. There are 8 jurors seated in the case as of this morning, 4 men, 4 women. The panel today heard from the first witnesses, including Stevenson's older brother, who told the court about a, quote, rough upbringing for them, end quote. That involves several foster placements. His aunt also testified, saying that Demetrius lived with her family for several years on the East Coast and did well under the care of doctors. Calumet County and the social workers denied the allegations listed in the lawsuit. The trial that is expected to last about a week.